The Vietnamese mossy frog is often defined as living camouflage and a masterpiece of nature's design. The skin of a mossy frog is rough, lumpy, and patterned with greens, blacks, and browns, an exact match for moss-covered rocks and damp forest floors. In the wild, the camouflage is so perfect that predators can stare right at them and never know they're there. The mossy frog in particular is nocturnal, so their eyes are better adapted to low-light environments. Within the retinas of the mossy frog host a large number of rods, which make them excellent at detecting movement in the dark. These frogs naturally block shorter UV wavelengths to reduce chromatic aberration, which can typically cause blurred vision at night. This evolutionary trade-off provides sharper vision for hunting and navigating in the dark. In the wild, Vietnamese mossy frogs are opportunistic hunters, snatching up whatever prey wanders too close. These frogs are insectivores, which means their meals revolve around live insects. In captivity, variety is key to keep them healthy and thriving. Typically, I feed a rotation of insects involving small crickets, dubia roaches, green and blue bottle flies, and moths, dusting them with protein powder every other feed and feeding them every other day. These frogs are typically very enthusiastic eaters, and interestingly, when observing mossy frogs eat, you can often notice them wiggle their toes prior to jumping, and a few theories exist as to why they do this. The first is to send tiny vibrations through the floor to entice prey to come closer, much like birds do. Another theory is that this motion is a pre-jump primal behavior, or gearing up, prior to launching at prey, and the third reason suggests the toe wiggle also helps them lock onto prey more accurately by stimulating a reaction out of the insect, allowing the frog to gauge the perfect strike moment. Mossy frogs have some of the most unique and haunting calls of any frog species. Primarily, it's the males that call, especially during the rainy season or in captivity when humidity is high. Their calls are also typically used to attract females. These calls are very unique and can sound like low, hollow croaks or knocks that can carry a fair distance. Mossy frogs are also able to adapt their calls to confuse and trick predators into thinking the frog is actually much further away. Here, I have an example of a typical mossy frog call. Getting the enclosure right for mossy frogs is really important in order for them to properly thrive. They must be kept in pairs or groups. These frogs are social and appreciate the company of their own species. They are also nocturnal, so if keeping them in a large tank, you will likely not see them much, unless you're feeding them. They can be loud at night, especially if you have multiple males. Ideally, the temperatures for mossy frogs are between 22 to 25 degrees and require humidity of around 80% consistently. With proper care, these frogs can live anywhere between 10 to 15 years in captivity. They are generally best kept as a display species. Handling stresses them out and should be avoided. It is important to note that frogs typically have thin, permeable skin that they use for breathing and absorbing moisture. This means that any chemicals on our hands can pass straight into the frogs' bodies. Excessive handling also removes the protective slime coat on their skin, making them more vulnerable to infections. These frogs do not like clean water, or water that splashes and makes lots of noise, so to keep them happy, I provide dechlorinated tap water with a mix of dried jungle leaves, such as guava or jack leaves. Allow these leaves to soak in the water for an hour prior to adding the water to the enclosure. I have a whole mossy frog enclosure video coming up soon, and we'll be going into a lot more depth with setup information in that video.